Good day, everyone. Eric from Helps YouTube Live on today, Wednesday, February 12th. Good to have you here. My name's Eric Olsen, attorney now for 46 years, and the founder of Helps. Helps is a national law firm that helps seniors and disabled persons who have debt in order to prevent debt collectors from bothering them, from calling or sending demand letters. And we also educate seniors how they can maintain their financial independence. So I want to welcome you today. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat feature. I'll try to deal with them there. But good to have you here. I'll start out by just sharing a phone call I had with someone a few minutes ago. A mother and a daughter. Okay, we talk to a lot of seniors here at Helps that have an RV. Okay, maybe it's a couple. Maybe the husband got sick and he can no longer drive the RV, or maybe one of them passed away and the other one can't afford the RV, or maybe the RV has some mechanical problems, they can't afford to fix it, or maybe they just got tired of the RV life. But most of the times it comes down to a point where they just can't afford it. What do you do if you have an RV you can't afford? Is it going to cause a problem for you? Well, our most important message to seniors is, number one, that your income is protected. Federal law protects your Social Security, your pension, disability, VA benefits, and there's state laws also that protect this income. So if you didn't pay for an RV and it got repossessed and it was sold and you owed some money on it and a creditor sued you, they're not going to be able to take your retirement income. It's going to be protected. Okay, we also explain to seniors that how their income is protected in their bank account. Since 2012, a law was passed that instructs banks that they're to protect twice the amount of federal benefits deposited into a checking account or a bank account from garnishment, regardless of what other funds are in there or where they came from. So if you got $2,000 in Social Security, $4,000 in your bank account is protected automatically from garnishment. So, if you have an RV that you can't afford and you're upside down and you try to sell it and you can't get any money out of it, and more than what you owe, and you get a hard time from the lender, you can let it go back. Now, with this, the mother and the daughter called me and I explained, well, if you've got this, the mother owed over $100,000 on the RV. I don't know what it was worth, but definitely less than what they owed. And she had other debt as well, but not a lot. And she said she was able to keep up with her credit card debt. And she said it was pretty small. And I said, well, you can do that. When people call Helps and they have debt problems, one of the things we ask them, do you have a credit card with a small balance or nothing is owed that you still want to keep? And if the answer is yes, as long as that credit card isn't backed by a bank with whom you have another debt you're not going to pay, you'd keep that credit card. You could keep that credit. Helps is different than bankruptcy, where all credit cards are shut off where they owe them any or not. It helps you only keep the credit you want to keep. So, in other words, when people enroll in Helps, they give us the creditors to whom they owe money, or the collectors, and then we send what's called a cease and desist letter out to the debt collector or the creditor, telling them that we represent the person. And then under federal law, if you're represented by an attorney, debt collectors can no longer call or send you demand letters anymore. They have to deal with us, not you. So peace comes back to your life. And so I explained to this mother and daughter, I said, yeah, you can stop making the RV payment. Are you current on it? She said, yes. And I said, well, you want to be behind. Normally, if you call and say you can't afford to keep it when you're current, you're going to get frustrated. The person you talk to isn't going to know what to do. But if you're behind and you get a call when you're behind, then you can tell the person who calls you that you can't afford it. They're going to know what to do. Okay? They'll eventually repossess it. She wanted to know, well, where can I leave it? And I said, well, you can leave it where it's at. Or, sometimes people drive it back to where they bought it. But if you do that, they're not going to want to let it be parked there. If you parked it there and just left the keys there, they didn't know about it, then that's going to be their problem. If you got it parked at a facility where you're paying a fee, you could choose to keep paying that fee, but if you can't afford it, you could stop paying the fee, and then it becomes the responsibility of the lender to pay that fee when they pick it up. You could also take the insurance off it. That might, as long as you're not driving it, you take the insurance off it, then they'll probably make them pick it up faster. And then they ask, well, gee, Eric, if we take the insurance off it and there's some damage to it, am I going to be responsible for it? Um, well, if there was some damage, you took the insurance off of it, you know, no, you're not going to be responsible. I mean, if they came after you for that, which is highly unlikely that would have happened in the first place, remember your Social Security is protected. So is your pensions, and she had a little annuity, that's protected. She had an IRA, that's protected. No one can take any of your money, so that's fine. You can let the RV go back, and they're very relieved to hear that. And so we tell that to seniors all the time. You know, a lot of seniors call that end up with RVs they simply can't afford for different reasons. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat feature. I'll try to address them there, and don't want you to worry. Please tell me you can hear me. Good. I get nervous sometimes that you can't hear me. I've made that mistake before. So thank you. Thank you. Don't Trump administration is not going to shut me down. Don't worry about that. No way. No way. No, your Social Security is safe. You know, the laws that helps operates under, they're not going anywhere. I don't care who you are in the government; they all know that these laws make sense and they're needful. So don't be worrying about stuff like that. So this person asks, when a person has a rental property and owns their own home and lives in an unlimited homestead state, do they need to sell one of their houses to keep creditors from taking one of them? Well, okay. It, Someone would have to sue, get a judgment, have to be a lien on the home, file a writ of execution. It's not the practice of consumer judgment creditors to try to take people's property. You know, they pretty much limit it to try to garnish a bank account. But, you know, it could become a lien on the property, which means if it's not covered under your homestead, you may live in Florida or Texas or there's a few other states that have unlimited homestead exemptions. Um, are they going to take the home that the rental property? They're going to do that. Um, I've never seen it done, but it could become a lien on it. So if you go to sell it, you'd have to pay off the judgment at that point. Okay. And if there's any questions here that as we go on today, as we talk about these things that I don't fully explain, or you have some more questions, you can always call and talk to us. That's what we're here for. Okay. This looks like Boom asks, if I got a summons for a lawsuit brought on by my creditors, do I not just do anything? My income is Social Security and Veterans Administration disability. I've sent a copy of summons to HELPS. Yeah, this person's apparently a member of HELPS, so I'll explain what we do. If one of our clients gets, well, first off, if you enroll in HELPS, you're going to give us the creditors to whom you owe money, debt collectors, whoever, and we're going to send them a cease and desist letter explaining that your income is protected, you can't afford to pay the debt, and if they have any questions, they call us, not you. They have to leave you alone. They can't call you, send you man letters anymore. So, hold on a second here. Can't remember the rest of your question here. Do you do anything? No, all we need is a copy of the lawsuit. We just usually need the first 3 or 4 pages. We name the case number, the name and address of the attorney, and then we send the attorney a letter. We're going to let them know that your income is Social Security or pension is protected. You can't afford to pay it. We understand they're going to get a judgment. You're not going to need to go to court. We don't need to contact the court. Eventually, they'll get a judgment. Your judgment proof. They're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to collect from you. And when one of our clients gets sued, we call them, explain to them this stuff. We're going to send them an email that has links to articles and videos from helps explaining why your income is protected and why you don't need to worry. Okay? That's what we do because we don't want you to worry. Can one or both homes be put in the kid's name to save them? Sometimes we talk about adding someone's name to the home as a joint owner with rights of survivorship. We got emails that talk about that. That's not effective in every state, and sometimes it's not always a good idea for different reasons. But, for example, if you owned a home jointly with you and one of your children, and then at your death, if you own it with survivorship rights, that means at your death the property would go to the kids. And in the interim, if someone had sued you and gotten a judgment after your child was added to the title as a joint owner with survivorship rights, then at your death the property automatically goes to the survivor. The judgment lien disappears because you no longer own the property. So it can be a good idea sometimes. Once a lawsuit is filed, how long does an attorney have in court to do something with it before they have to dismiss it if they never served? Well, it depends on the state and the rules for the courts for that state. I noticed yesterday someone said that they were served. It was in New York. You may have heard me talk about it. They were served like 2 or 3 years before. And they filed an answer. And then now, 2 or 3 years later, the person who sued them filed a motion for summary judgment, but the case was still active. A lot of times the courts will try to push these cases along, and they want it to end after a certain period of time. So it depends on the state. But once again, if you're getting Social Security and a pension and your income's protected, you don't need to worry about the lawsuit. Your judgment proof they can't collect from you. April says, I have a Visa with my bank, Truist. I tried transferring balance but can't get approved. Balance is $7,500. Afraid I have to stay with Truist. They will take payment from my... We tell people recently, if you have a loan with Truist Bank that you're going to stop paying, you need to transfer your Social Security so it goes into a different bank. You need to get it. Truist Bank is kind of like a credit union in that they had you sign an agreement that says that if you don't make a payment, they can take money out of your checking account to pay their loan. Now, banks don't do that. Credit unions do, and Truist Bank does that. Okay? Okay. They found out about helps on senior living. We do a lot of videos with senior living on YouTube. You can look at those videos. We've probably got several score of videos with senior living. I just did one last week, in fact. Okay. Reaching out to your office for help and advice on the situation. I'm living on fixed Social Security income. So this person has been sued by Citibank. They're on Social Security. When people call us, we ask a series of questions. Where you live, what state, what your age is, married or single, how'd you find us, have you been sued, are you buying your home or renting, do you buy a car, do you own a car? We're not being snoopy. We just want to know what your financial situation is, and then we're going to read you what we do, which is we represent seniors and disabled to stop collectors from harassing you. You give us the creditors you owe money to. Then we're going to send a cease and desist letter. They're going to leave you alone. They're going to represent you ongoing so you never have to deal with collectors again. So this person who's been sued in Georgia, we're going to tell them, yeah, you give us a copy of the lawsuit. We're going to send a letter to the attorney who sued you. We're going to let them know that your income is Social Security. You can't afford to pay the debt, and that's going to be the end of it. They'll get a judgment, but they're not going to be able to do anything about it. Okay? And we'll ask you some more questions too. But we represent our clients ongoing. It's not just one time. When people enroll in HELPS, they're our clients literally forever, as long as they want to be, so they don't have to deal with collectors. Now, why is that? Well, because if you owe a debt, let's say you owe it to a credit card company, they're eventually going to turn it over to a debt collection agency to collect on it. It might be 6 months or longer. And then if that debt collection agency gets a letter from HELPS and they're not able to collect the debt, they might give it to another debt collection agency. You might get a notice a year and a half, 2 years down the road, and you might get sued 2 or 3 years down the road. Once again, you're not going to need to go to court, and you're going to get us all that information. If you get a new creditor, a new debt collector contacts, you're going to get that to us so we can send them a letter so they leave you alone. Okay? So what we tell our people that call in, a lot of times they'll say you have 3 options. One is to do nothing at all. Represent yourself if you can. We explain how your income's protected. Option 2 is, you could theoretically file bankruptcy. The vast majority of seniors don't need to file bankruptcy. They can't afford to file bankruptcy. Bankruptcy's become pretty expensive. Why don't they need to file bankruptcy? Because the creditor can't really do anything to them. Okay? And then the third option is if they don't want to have to deal with the debt collectors, this helps. And then our cost is either free for some of our clients, depending on your income, or it's very minimal. And so for a lot of seniors, the answer is obvious. If they don't want to have to deal with the debt collectors, they want to enroll in HELPS. That's what we do. Okay. Okay. Sunset, I really didn't understand this. It says my state is looking to make new laws on blight. I was sure to comment on that. Oh, stay home. Not sure what you're asking. Maybe you want to retype that. Okay. Okay, here we go. This person contacted us from Minnesota. A year ago or so, you contacted a collection company for me. So it must be a HELPS client that's writing this in. And it says, they got a judgment and I complied with giving them some information. Okay? Turns out they were not legally registered to do business in my state and were kicked out. Now another one is coming after me for what I assume is the same debt. Not really sure. Also, with Social Security being threatened and inflation, okay, Social Security is not being threatened. There's inflation, but your Social Security is here to stay. Don't worry about that, please. Okay? I have fallen behind on several credit cards and will never catch up. When do you notify creditors for your clients? So if you're a member of HELPS or you enrolled in HELPS and you happen to incur a new debt, or maybe you had a credit card you were going to keep and now you find out you can't pay it anymore, you can always turn that into HELPS. When we get creditors from new clients or existing clients, our goal is to send out a cease and desist letter within 24 to 48 hours. We're usually pretty good about that. Okay? I haven't received anything in the mail, just texts and emails. If Trump has his way and they eliminate Social Security, I will no way. Uh, my rent is more than my income. No, Trump isn't going to eliminate Social Security. No, that's not in the. We don't talk politics here, but I will tell you things that are true, and that is Social Security is not going anywhere. So don't worry about that. No matter what you read or not what someone tells you. That is total misinformation for someone to lead you to believe that your Social Security is going to go away. So this next person contacted us from Texas, and they say, I'm a veteran, 61 years old, 100% disabled. I have credit cards and back taxes that I cannot afford to pay due to my lowered income. Is there any relief for me? Absolutely yes. So he's 61. He's getting VA benefits. I need to do something here real quick here. He's getting VA benefits. They're protected. No one can do it. Now, what if he owes some back income taxes? Well, if you owe income taxes to the IRS and your income is under a certain amount, you can qualify for what's called currently not collectible status. And if you're a single person, you have income about $2,500 or less, you can get on currently not collectible status, or $3,500 or less, even more, a little bit more than that, and you're a couple, you can get on currently not collectible status. And if you owe the state can't touch your Social Security or your pension to pay state to income taxes. So if you got taxes you're worried about, you can call Helps and we'll go over that. I'm sure you're going to be fine. Mary asks, I received a notice from Circuit Court, but I don't understand it. Capital One. There's a list of attorneys. Is there something I need to do? Well, you can always call and we can go over this with you, Mary. Probably not. Oh, okay. Blight is where the code office makes demands for the owner to fix up one's property. Some are rational, some is a land grab for developers. Um, yeah, I've read about things like that happening. Thankfully, they're not. That doesn't happen that often. There may be a number of solutions. Probably would have to go into this when you call our office and talk to one of the attorneys that helps about maybe some options you have. Realize that helps. We don't give legal advice. We give legal information, but we do have legal information on this area. Okay. I don't know if look at YouTube because we're on YouTube. I enjoy seeing some videos on YouTube where these guys get in there that are they're yard maintenance guys, and they find a yard that's really run down. Okay, and then they spend hours mowing it, edging it, cleaning it up so it looks beautiful. And it's kind of funny. Some neighbors complain, or some people wonder, "What are you doing?" And they tell the landowner who comes out, they said, I'd like to clean up your yard. Is that okay? And I can't afford it. They said, well, I'm not going to charge you anything. But they get hundreds of thousands of views on their videos for people watching them clean up this person's yard. And so I guess they get paid by doing that. But it's kind of sweet. Maybe that's a good way to get your yard cleaned up, is get someone to come out there and take a YouTube video of it. I don't know. If on uncollectible status with the IRS, would a refund be applied to the amount owed? Yeah. But a lot of times, our clients that are on non-collectible status with the IRS, they don't file tax returns, they don't get refunds. So, but yeah, if you did get a refund for whatever reason, then it would go towards your IRS tax debt. Now, if you're worried about that, what you can do if you file and you do file taxes and you do get a refund, what you could do is raise the number of exemptions you have so you don't get a refund. That way you get the money during the year, and when you file the tax return, there's no refund that's going to go to pay your old tax. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay? In other words, if you're on non-collectible status with the IRS, okay? Non-collectible now, okay? Uncollectible status with the IRS. And you're still required to file taxes. Maybe you have a little bit more income than Social Security, and you have to file taxes, and they withhold some money from this other income you have to be able to pay that taxes. You could adjust the withholding amount so you're not going to get a refund. Instead, you get it during the year with your regular check. Therefore, when you file your tax return, you're not going to get a refund that the IRS would take because you already got it during the year. Okay? Okay. So this person comes in from Florida and they ask, um, they get Social Security and a federal pension. Her husband became paraplegic, and they bought a van to help him transport him. And they say they were reassured that if they ever weren't able to afford it, they could surrender it and there wouldn't be any issues. Well, if they bought a van and they were making payments and they were going to surrender it, there always would be an issue of some form. Okay, but anyway, it says, so the husband passed away and she turned it over to sell it, for them to sell it on her behalf. She tried to sell it first herself, but they weren't able to sell it. She wasn't able to sell it, and the person who's selling on her behalf hasn't been able to sell it. So she says she's having the bank come repossess it to avoid any trouble. And also decided to stop paying her credit card debts. And we informed her what we do. And I don't know if she's enrolled yet, but okay, so this person had a van. It could be a car, but it was for disabled. And the person they bought the van from promised them, if you can't keep it in the future for whatever reason, bring it back to us, we'll sell it. You shouldn't owe any money. Well, she tried to do that, and they weren't able to sell it, okay? They said, well, you'd have to come up with $4,000 for us to be able to sell it. And so, no, she can't do that. And so she contacted the bank and said, come repossess it. Here's where it's at. And they'll repossess it. They're going to sell it probably for less than what she owes, assuredly. And then she's going to get a notice of deficiency. And she's not going to have to worry about that because her income, Social Security, and a federal pension is protected. If she enrolls and helps, she's going to give us the money she owes to on that van after it was sold, the difference she owes, the deficiency amount, and she's going to give us her credit cards. And we're going to send cease and desist letters out to her debt collectors, and she's not going to have to worry about paying any of this debt. She's going to be just fine. That's what Helps does. Okay. So this person contacted us from California. They're mid-60s. They have Social Security and a pension. They had a Discover card that got out of hand. about 16,000. And so you got a couple other credit cards with lower interest rates to kind of spread that around. Apparently, maybe he paid off some of the money he owed to Discover, so he didn't owe it to one bank or whatever, one credit card. Then he got involved with a debt management company or a debt settlement company called Beyond Finance. He said they negotiated the credit card interest for him, but he got sued by Discover and he was served with a summons. He gets Social Security and a pension, owns a mobile home and a car. We explained what we did. He said he's weighing staying with Beyond or stopping Beyond and signing up with us. He may sign up with us to handle the lawsuit with Discover. He seems quite overwhelmed about how best to proceed. I asked him to read the emails I sent him and call back with questions. He was thankful for our help. Okay? Then this person called back on February 6th. He had been watching our YouTube videos. That's a good thing to do. We got lots of YouTube videos that explain this stuff. A lot of people call us at the beginning, they don't understand everything. And so sometimes we say, look at some of our YouTube videos, look at our webpage, read our articles, and you'll get a better grip on your rights and why you're going to be okay. So it says he called Beyond and they told him that they're able to stop his service with them and that he will be responsible for paying the bills on his own. We told him that he could send those debts to us and we'll send them a cease and desist letter and he doesn't have to pay the debt. And we explained what we needed for the lawsuit for Discover. We just need the first few pages. Then he called the next day, thinks he's ready to enroll. We reviewed helps again. He's feeling confident now about what we do and happy, and he'll send in the creditors and get them together. And he enrolled with helps. So that's pretty typical. The guy called, looks like 3, maybe 4 times, getting some information about helps, and then finally realized that we could help him. We don't want anyone to enroll with helps unless they feel completely comfortable about helps and what we do. Okay? We represent you so you don't have to pay the debt anymore, and so you don't have to deal with the debt collectors anymore. And we're always there to assure you so you understand why you're going to be okay. Ongoing. I have a neighbor that cuts my grass and clears my snow. This leaves me to do the tree bush pruning. That's great. I'm glad for that. There's just a lot of good people out there that help people. Okay. Okay, this person contacted us from Kentucky. She was referred to us by an agent from Sunshine Capital. She's been sued by Synchrony Bank and is truly stressed to tears on the call. She's been doing her best to maintain and work out her payment plans with her creditors. Has 5 credit cards. She can't keep up with them anymore. Upset, said, I did my best. Signed up for help only to be sued. And the paralegal wrote down, we went through the lawsuit process and I reassured her everything is going to be okay. Yeah, that's what we tell our clients, our seniors, that everything's going to be okay. And it is. She is thankful for the time taken to walk her through everything and was very happy she was referred to us. She'd never heard of helps before and didn't know that her funds were protected. She will be getting the lawsuit papers into us and her other creditors And the paralegal put at the end, such a sweet lady. We talked to a lot of sweet clients, sweet ladies and sweet men, good people. Okay. And and when she said she never heard of helps and didn't know her funds were protected. Yeah, that's our most important message to seniors is that your Social Security is protected. So is your pension, disability, VA benefits. It can't be taken from you. It's available for your needs and you can be protected from debt collectors. Okay. So this person contacted us from Florida. He had a partial amputation and he's on Social Security disability. And because of that, he had a massive drop in income. He had to survive off of credit cards for a while. And now has two judgments against him. So he lives in Florida and he got a paper from the judgment creditors called a fact information sheet. And it says he is very concerned over filling them out. So let me talk about that. We always tell people, if someone sues you, gets a judgment, you're judgment proof. But some states have court proceedings or they have papers that they can send to people after a judgment that can be scary or intimidating. And Florida is one of those states. Now, Florida has really good protections for homes, but this fact information sheet that Florida has, or financial information sheet, whatever it's called, I think it's fact information sheet, is really not a very good thing. I've talked about it before. It's got about 20 or 30 questions on there. Probably 90% of them don't even apply to a senior. And I talked about this. It seems like I talk about it every day. I'm sorry if I do, but people need to hear about this. So, if one of our clients gets a lawsuit and they get served with that fact information sheet and they call us on the phone, we're going to help them fill it out. It's pretty much common sense, but a lot of the things you don't need to worry about. Like one of the questions they ask is, they want to know all your kids' names and addresses and phone numbers. Well, I don't know why they ask for that. It's a court form. I've always told our clients it's really no one's business. You don't know all that information about your kids anyway. I could never I don't know my kids' addresses. I don't even know their phone numbers. It's on my phone, but I don't know them. And they can't collect from your kids, so why do they want that information? I don't know. But you don't have to fill it out. And at the end, the form is supposed to be signed and notarized. It's blah, blah, blah. Well, a lot of our clients are older. They don't get around. They don't know a notary. They don't know how to get a notary. We'll help them fill it out. They can fill it out and they can just sign it. We never had an issue with a creditor. And I think I told this yesterday. I had a lady I helped fill out yesterday or the day before, and at the end I just said right in there, my only income is $1,400 in Social Security. I don't have any money to pay this debt. I said write that in at the bottom. Just write that in. So you don't need to worry. Now we help people in different states, give them legal information if there's a lawsuit or a judgment and they're worried and they have questions because of some follow-up paperwork they get. He ends it, discuss the protections from the judgments. Fact information sheets are required to be filled out in Florida honestly and to the best of one's ability. He's very nervous over this and filling it out, especially since the one is past due. The paralegal emailed one of Help's attorneys to follow up with him, and that's what we did. We followed up with him, and I'm sure we told him what to do. We're pretty well experienced with that. In fact, we got a form email we send to people about the Florida fact information sheet. It's nothing to be concerned about, okay? We do want to fill it out. We do want you to fill it out. Do we need a copy? Not necessarily. Okay. Okay, let's see. We got other questions here. This person contacted us from Texas. Well, I think I already dealt with this one. From California. This person is struggling with credit card bills, putting him into a hole at the end of the month, leaving him maybe $50 to his name. He's been listening to our YouTube videos and hoping there is a possibility we could help. He's current on his payments but needs to start letting the bills go so he can afford his needs. Yeah. Now we're going to talk to him and explain to him what his rights are, and he can stop paying the credit card bills and use that money for his food and medicine. Person contacted us again from California. Says has been receiving attorney advertisement letters threatening lawsuits over credit card debts he owes. So what that is the guy's probably been sued, and certain bankruptcy attorneys advertise bankruptcy. They subscribe to a service that lets them know if someone's been sued, and so they'll send a letter out to the person that's been sued and let them know, hey, we filed bankruptcy, we can help you. And a lot of times people will get that letter from a bankruptcy attorney and don't realize they've been sued. They haven't been served with papers yet. Some people get 2 or 3 or 4 or half a dozen of those letters, depending on how many bankruptcy attorneys in the area where you live subscribe to that service and lets them know when someone's been sued. And it goes, he has a tax lien on her home that's been placed 5 years ago, unsure if it's federal or state. Well, we can talk about that with this person. A federal tax lien is good for 10 years. After that, it goes away. State tax liens could be on there longer, but they don't ever foreclose on a person's home. It just, the tax lien may need to be paid when you go to sell the home. Or maybe if you pass away and you own the home, it maybe need to be dealt with your estate when you die. Okay? You don't need to worry. We'll go over this stuff with you. I had a collector call me one time about my neighbor. I was stunned. I said I didn't really know him. Well, a collector could try to call a neighbor, I guess, to try to see if they could get some information on to contact the neighbor, but then it'd be against the law for them to identify themselves as a debt collector. One called my sister and acted like I was the boyfriend. It was a female, I don't know. Okay. The one I remember, and I've told this before, but the famous one I remember was, and I used to know a lot of these when I did bankruptcy, but this one was a good one. The client called me, and what happened was her daughter called her and said, "Mom, are you okay?" And Mom said, and she was at work in a meeting, and the call was put through, and the mom said, "Yeah, why did you call me?" He says, "Well, this person called me and wanted to know if I heard about your mom. I wanted to know if she's okay." He says, "I don't know, it's my mom," and tried to get the phone number from her daughter about the mom. And so the debt collector actually called the debtor's home, spoke to the daughter to get the mom's number at work. And by telling the daughter that mom had an accident and wanted to know if she was okay. Pretty sad. Now, I haven't heard any one of these stories lately, but I'm sure it happens every day somewhere in the United States. Okay. What if you live full time in an RV? there's nothing wrong with living full time in an RV. I mean, if you own it free and clear, you can claim it under your homestead exemption. No one's going to take it. Not going to be no problem with that. Can my can my savings be garnished if it's not in the same bank as a checking bank? Well, yes and no. Um, we talk a lot about helps out your Social Security or your federal benefit deposit in your bank account is protected automatically up to twice the amount you get each month. Now, if you put some of that money into a savings account, then it's not protected automatically. And if you got a writ of garnishment, the bank could hold that money up and turn it over to the person doing the garnishing. And you'd have to file what's called a challenge of garnishment or claim of exemption with the court, be able to show the court that the money in the savings account originated from Social Security or from some other protected funds for it to be released. That could be a headache or a hassle. And if you didn't even know you could do that, you could end up losing that money. Therefore, if someone sues you and gets a judgment, and you don't want to even have an issue at all, just make sure that you just have one account. That's the account in which Social Security goes, and keep the balance in there less than twice the amount of your federal benefit. Okay? You don't get very little money off of savings accounts. So a lot of times having a savings account, if you have a judgment against you, is not a good idea. It's not worth the headache that would happen if they happen to garnish your bank account. I've had clients lose a lot of money they had in a savings account because if you garnish, you have a limited time period to file a challenge to garnish or a claim of exemption with the court to get that money released. And if you wait too long, then the bank's going to send it to the debt to the collector, the judgment holder, and you could lose that money. Okay. Um, this person contacts us from New York. He gets Social Security survivor benefits. He rents, no car, and no assets. Banks with Citibank and has a Citibank loan and credit card. Also has Capital One U.S. Bank credit card. Person's looked into bankruptcy, having a hard time wrapping her head around becoming a deadbeat who doesn't pay her bills. Well, you're not a deadbeat if you don't pay your debt. I mean, you got a lot of company out there, and you're not a deadbeat. You didn't do it on purpose. It's life happened. Um, so we sent her some emails, including helps versus bankruptcy. Worried about her credit score. Wanted to keep one of the credit cards, and that's fine. We told her she could. And so we explained her rights. So, she banks at Citibank and has a Citibank loan and credit card. Well, if she wanted to stay banking at Citibank, she could. If the only debt she's getting is Social Security, then there's a federal law that tells the banks they can't offset money out of your bank account to pay a loan you owe them or a credit card debt that you owe the bank. If the only money that's going into your account is Social Security, they can't do that. So she could still keep with Citibank. Now, if she banked at a credit union, she'd want to change because credit unions, if you don't pay them, they're going to eventually kick you out of the credit union. And on top of that, credit unions, whether you know it or not, when you enrolled with them, you signed an agreement saying they could take money out of your account to pay a debt you owe, even if it was Social Security. Okay? Okay. I can't get my glasses on to read this. Okay, we got a couple minutes here. So this person contacts us from Missouri. It says she was quite teary through the conversation, but was so extremely thankful for the information I was able to give her. Multiple medical issues. 2 lawsuits pending. Very worried about her home and car. Discussed that if they get judgments, it could become a lien, but they're not going to take her home and her car. She owed money on the home. The home's not going to be at risk. And the car was worth a little bit more than the exemption for her state, but judgment creditors don't go after people's cars, even if you have equity over and above the exemption for a vehicle for the state where you live. They don't take them. We talked about how to protect her home for her daughter if she wanted to do that. Says she have 2 bank accounts, one in Texas and one local in Missouri. Social Security is directly deposited in the Texas bank account, and then she transfers money to her local bank. But we discussed that they noticed that she shouldn't do that any longer. It should go into the account. She just use the one account into which Social Security goes. Okay. She said she expects an IRS refund of a pretty good amount of money, which is going to be directly deposited into the account where she transfers money and not the one where Social Security is directly deposited. It's because she would have to get the money out ASAP, and she could have, to prevent anyone from garnishing her account. And we emailed her a bunch of things. It says the lady is so grateful for what Helps has done for her today. She finally has hope and has simply lifted her spirits to where she can think about these things. Sweet lady. That's what it says, sweet lady. One of my staff was. We talked to a lot of sweet ladies, my staff says. Yeah. So here's one. A person contacts us from Georgia, calling for her sister who lives in Georgia, who's struggling with a timeshare. She got wrapped up in. They've talked to the folks who offer to buy timeshares but aren't able to pay the associated fees. Well, okay, I've talked about timeshares a lot, but if you got a timeshare, you don't want to keep it, which you probably don't want to keep, just stop making the payment. Don't worry. You don't have to pay anyone to sell the timeshare for you. Those people that do that, they're scammers. A timeshare, they don't sue people, and even if they did, they can't collect from you on Social Security, but they won't. You let the timeshare go back. You don't have to pay it anymore. Okay? Okay. I think I'm going to call it for the day. I want to thank you for participating today. If you haven't already, press the like button. If you would appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel. People find out about Helps from YouTube more than any other source. And so, sometimes I talk about the same things, it seems like, over and over again, but we have new people that listen to this channel and they want to hear this stuff. If you have any other questions, you can put them in the comment, and I try to look at those and answer questions there. You can always call us toll free 855-435-7787. 855 helps us or helps us. Okay. Thanks for your support. Please share what helps does with others. And everyone have a great day. Okay?